So if you visit Wpalgoridm.com, except for the home page, every other page has a sidebar, and I actually designed it using Elementor Pro. Even if you go to the contact us page, you'll find the same sidebar, right? The subscribe section, call to action, and few links, right? You can basically put anything in your sidebar, and I'm going to teach you how in this tutorial. Hi, this is Karthik. I'm a web developer and the founder of Wpalgoridm.com. On Design School by Wpalgoridm, I make step-by-step WordPress and Elementor tutorials for beginners. If you are new, consider subscribing, and let's get into today's topic. So we'll design a sidebar completely using Elementor Pro without any third-party add-on. What are the typical characteristics of a sidebar? It should be accessible from a single point. So you change it once, it's changed everywhere. Second, you must be able to add any widgets. In our case, we'll just add Elementor Pro widgets, which are highly powerful and more than enough. You can also add Gutenberg widgets if you need. Third thing, we'll just make it theme independent. Unlike typical WordPress sidebars, Elementor Pro, we can do it just by using Elementor Pro. If you don't have Elementor Pro, this tutorial requires Elementor Pro. You can get it from the link in the description, and let's get started. So go to your WordPress dashboard and go to templates, click on save templates, right? Under save templates, I'll just click on add new, select section from the type of the template, and we'll just call it sidebar. So this section will actually act as our sidebar. I'll show you how. Just click on create template. So once you click on create a section, by the moment it's created, you will be greeted with this pop-up where you can pick templates to choose from. You can either choose from the templates that you already created, or you can choose the blocks, pages, or anything from here. But first, let's decide what we want in our sidebar. For a typical sidebar, you'd usually have your social contact bar, a call to action button, and few important links to various things on your website, or maybe few important links to various products on your site. So on this site, let me start by adding a newsletter subscription form. So the first section is going to be a newsletter subscribe form in the sidebar. And for a typical WordPress sidebar, you'd usually add widgets, but in Elementor Pro sidebar, we'll add sections so that you can tweak each of the sections or remove each of the sections when you don't really need them, right? So I'll just click on this section. I'll go to blocks. As I said, I want to use a subscription letter. So I'll just search for it and I'll use a default template. I'll just click on insert, and we'll just use this as our first widget. Now don't worry about the width, it'll be automatically adjusted. You can simply tweak the font size maybe from here. You can change it to H5 or something. And also under typography, let's change this to maybe around that so that it looks good on responsive. You can click here, go to the mobile view, and you can understand how that looks on our sidebar. So typically when you design a section on a desktop, the way it looks on mobile is the way it's going to look in our sidebar. So that's a pro hack, but we can totally customize that later. So we have our call to action button, and okay, now we have the first section of our sidebar. Next, I want to add a call to action section or call to action widget. Now in Elementor Pro, if there's a separate widget for that particular function, use the widget itself, because you'll be reducing the number of divs and optimizing it. But on Wpalgoridm.com, these are basically individual widgets which are used in this section. It's totally up to you. If you have a widget and if you think that will satisfy the purpose, you can definitely use that. So to add a call to action widget or call to action button, I'll just create a new section, click on the plus button, and just add call to action widget of Elementor. I'll just click and drag it over here. Let's pick an image. Maybe I'll just pick this. You can play with the image. You can use any image and you can choose a skin. I'll just choose cover for this, and also add a link. Just paste any link or use the one from your website. Update, right? You can also add a ribbon in case you have one. Right, so again, just click on the responsive mode, see how this looks on mobile, and this is how it's going to show up in your sidebar, and it looks pretty good. So I'm happy with that as of now. Again, back to desktop view. I added a newsletter form. I added a call to action widget. And the next thing I want to add are few links. You can basically add any widget that you need. Just click on the widgets button. Again, you need to add it as a separate section so that the other sections are not affected. Okay, we have a newsletter subscription and a call to action. And I'll add a widget to have links. And the best widget for adding links is an icon list widget. You can remove the icons if you need. And I'll also add a heading widget on top of it. Just click and drag heading widget onto this section. I'll change this to H5 or H6 and change the typography. It looks more like a small title or something. Just change this to important links. Align it onto the center, or you can keep it aligned onto the left. Totally a personal preference. Under this heading widget, I'm going to add icon list widget because you can have icons. You can have links to each of them. I'll align them onto the center. You can totally remove the icon itself or change the icon. Okay, we have few list items. So we have all the sections we need for our sidebar. The next thing is to implement it site-wide. And how can you do that? Well, the answer is in Elementor Theme Builder. Just make it a part of a theme builder template so that this section appears everywhere. And you don't need to keep adding this section, and I'll show you how. So I'll go to theme builder template and we'll click on single post. It does have a design. I'll just trash this one. I'll just click on add new, just give it a name. If you already have a single post template or single page template or any single template, just add the sidebar as a part of it. So you'll be greeted with this typical template screen. I'll just close this for now. The first design element that we want to have in our each and every post or a page or a template is the sidebar. So I'll just click on the plus button, and in order to have the sidebar, we just need to have two columns, one of them a larger one and another one a smaller one. I'll also change the design of page layout from default to Elementor canvas so that we see the design in a better way. Now we have two columns, right? And the left column will hold the section or the content of our page, post, or anything. So I'll just change the width of the left column to 70%. That automatically makes the width of the side column to 30%. If you click on this column, you can see it's automatically 30%, right? So our sidebar will be added to the right column. And in this, we'll just use, so in the left column, I'll just keep adding some of the elements of maybe our design, right? Again, I'll just click on the widgets button. I'll add post excerpt. I'll add post content in here. I'll also add featured image just above or just below the excerpt. So it's going to be our left column. Also, I'll just click on the column, add a bit of padding, maybe around 20 pixels, so that the content looks better. Or you can add padding to the whole section. We'll actually do that. I'll just click on this column, reset it to 0. I'll just click on the section, go to advanced tab and have a 50 pixel padding so that the content looks really good, right? Even in the left column and even in the right column. So in the right column, we want our sidebar. I'll just hold down Command key and click on it. So that opens in a new tab or new window or new tab, whatever, right? So this is our sidebar. So how can we get this to show up on the right side of this design? Well, obviously you can just click on this and drag the template onto this. Well, that's one way to do it. You can simply copy all content, right? And then paste it over here simply, and you can have that. But if you copy and paste the content into the sidebar, or if you use a template, any changes you make to your site sidebar won't be reflected in any new page that you create, which is kind of a bummer, right? We want our sidebar to be centralized, meaning if you make a change here, it should be reflected across your site wherever the sidebar is used. Obviously, that is the prime purpose you use sidebar for, right? So how do you do that? So in the second column, I'll just click on the plus button. I'll just add the template widget, right? Again, this is a part of Elementor Pro. Click and drag it and just pick the site sidebar template. And it's this one. By doing so, you're effectively embedding the sidebar into the design. So once you change the sidebar in here, the changes will be automatically reflected wherever this template is used. Or you can simply use the shortcode widget, but using the template widget is the best way to embed a sidebar. I'll also click on this column, change the padding to 100 pixel. Now, the first time you do this, the sidebar won't be perfect, but don't worry, you can definitely fix it. I'll just update this or publish it, and you can click on display conditions. I'll just set it to all singular, or you can set it to all pages or all posts or all custom post types. If you pick all singular, any page, post or a post type, any new page, post or a post type, whenever it's created, it's basically going to use this design, and we'll just take it for granted now. You can also override it at an individual level. You can create a different template for maybe a different custom post type, maybe a page or post or whatever, right? So this is the design. I'll just click on preview, and this is how the design looks. As you can see that this subscribe to newsletter button is looking good, but the problem is with this widget over here. It's overflowing out of the boundaries of the sidebar, and I don't like that. So again, you have to go to sidebar widget. You can make changes here and they'll be reflected in here because we effectively embedded the template. Also, you can use shortcode of this sidebar template. So I'll just click on this email button, click on email. I'll change the column width from 75% to 33% effectively. That will not make it too big to contain in our sidebar. Also, I'll change the section. I'll just click on the section. I'll change the overflow to hidden. In case there is any overflow, it won't be outside of our sidebar. So that looks neat. You can actually do that for each and every section, right? Again, hide overflow for each of the section. I'll just click here. Again, I'll do the same, change the overflow to hidden. So I think that looks good. I'll update this. Now, if I update the preview directly, you can see that it looks good, right? Okay, so this is the sidebar, and I want to change few things. The text is too big for our sidebar, so I'll just change the text typography to maybe something like this. I'll also align the text onto the left. I think that looks better. Even here, I'll change the text. Go to style typography. I think they look better. I'll just leave the rest as is. I'll update. I just have another block. I have a call to action and I have a subscription form. So this is my sidebar. I can simply reload this template, which is my single template. And now it looks better, right? Now it looks better. You can simply click on the preview again. Click on preview and that will show you. Also, while previewing, you should see how it looks on different devices. So as I scale my window down, you should see the way it looks, right? Of course, at tablet and mobile breakpoints, it's supposed to look better. We can quite easily tweak that and I'm going to show you how. But on desktop and above, it looks better. So I'll just click on the responsive mode. Also with Elementor 3.4, you can add as many breakpoints as you need. So you can add mobile extra, tablet extra. I made a separate video on that. I'll link that in the description down below. So we'll fix this sidebar thing. You can either click on this column, go to advanced, under responsive, you can either hide it on tablet, hide it on mobile, but we want this sidebar to be there on tablet and mobile as well. If you want to do that, well, the easy way to do that is just click on the left column and change the width to 100. So that will occupy the whole width in the tablet mode. and naturally our sidebar will be pushed to the bottom, but the width of the sidebar remains at 30%. Again, we'll click on this column. Now again, come back to layout and just change it to maybe 100%. And just like that, our sidebar looks good on tablet. You can do the same thing for mobile. But for mobile, our content looks too squished because we added that 100 pixels padding, right? So maybe on mobile, you can just have around 20 to 30 pixels padding. That would look better. So I'll just click on this section, change the padding in mobile view to 30 all around. So that looks better. And you can see our sidebar looks even better on mobile device. So just by changing the widths of the columns, we made the sidebar responsive, right? Now I'll click on update. I'll just click on preview. Even the preview is updated. Now, if I scale it through, you can see our sidebar is quite responsive and it looks really good. If you want, you can add additional breakpoints and change the width at that breakpoint, maybe a mobile extra breakpoint and tablet extra breakpoint, and change the sidebar width and this column width to 100% and 100%. That will make the sidebar occupy wherever you want, right? So that's how you make sidebar responsive. Just make sure that it's not overflowing. And second thing, make sure the text is not too big on the sidebar. Also, don't use complicated widgets, right? If you use slides widget and stuff like that, it might overflow a lot and it may not look good. So use simple widgets such as call to action, headings, texts, or something like that, right? So this is the sidebar widget. And now we have completely successfully designed sidebar, but there's one more thing to note here. Now the user cannot distinguish between the actual area, right? Actual body and the sidebar and the content section. In order to do that, you can click on the section, add a darker background to the section. So you can make it a bit like that. And now within each column, you can change the background to a brighter one. Maybe a white color background would look good, better. You can see that here. Also, we'll do the same with this column, which is our sidebar column. Again, click that, change the color to white. Now we have another problem here. Now this column and this column are inseparable, so user cannot distinguish between the content area and the sidebar area. So instead of adding the same background to the column, I'll just click on the column, remove the background color. I'll just click on this clear button. So the background of the sidebar becomes the background of whatever the section, right? So the darker one. Instead of giving a background to the sidebar, I'll just click on the widget, which is the template widget. Click on advanced, go to background, and I'll change the background of the template widget instead of changing the background of the whole column. So that way we can distinguish it better. Also, I'll add slide padding, maybe around 10 pixels, so that the content is properly displayed within the sidebar to the template widget. And now it looks good, right? So if the preview is updated, I'll change the padding of the column to maybe 30 pixels or so. So that will make the sidebar even more noticeable. And then you can also add padding within the template widget like this. So that makes sidebar a sidebar and it's clearly separated from the main content. So this is for a template, for a single template. Now, if you are designing another template, you can use this design as a base, right? Let me show you how that will work. So basically in every design, you'll be using the same sidebar, or you'll be using this design, which consists of this section with two columns. The only thing that you'll be changing is the contents of the left column, right? I'll show you what I mean. So if I want to create another theme builder template, this is for all the single templates. Now let's say I just want to create a different template for single post. I'll just click on add new. I'll call it post template. Click on create template. And I'll just remove this. I'll just click on this files icon. Go to my templates. I'll click on creation date and I'll just insert the single template that we just created so that it has that column and it has that section, right? So now we have our sidebar, the column with the content. You just need to remove these widgets and put the widgets that you need. These widgets are appropriate. Maybe I can add metadata widget into this in here, right? Maybe I can add an author box in here. So something like that. And just hit publish and add a condition. This will change it to all posts. And you can design as many templates as you want. And as long as your design has these two sections and the second column being the sidebar is universally applied to your site. Whenever you create a new page, post, or you can do the same for a custom post type. Also, one more thing to note here. Now, if I go to dashboard or if I go to the sidebar area, we just embedded this template. Let's say I change the color, or basically I can change anything in here. Update. I'll just reload this post template and the change is applied just like that. So basically this is a centralized sidebar. You can add any Elementor widget into it, but again, keep it simple, limited to text, images, few buttons, and few call to action widgets and stuff like that, so that it's not too overwhelming for a user. And basically this is the same technique I used to design sidebar for Wpalgoridm.com. So go to any page. I just used a couple of widgets. Only this section I just designed with different widgets. This is basically an icon list widget and the links are basically affiliate links. And the first one is basically a subscribe button so that you can subscribe to Design School by Wpalgoridm. So this is how you design a sidebar, how to make it responsive. Again, I'll just sum it up once again. All we did to make it responsive is to click on the section and change the width. On desktop, usually it will look good. If you want, you can change the width of each column in desktop as well. So you can maybe change it to 60% and change this to 40%. If you think it's too squeezed, you can actually do that. Again, go to tablet view by clicking on the tablet icon at the top and change the width to 100%, and also by changing the width to 100% even here. I think there's a padding over here, so maybe a 10 pixel padding, something like that, so that it looks good. And if you want few gaps between each of the widgets, you can actually do that. You can just add margins in the sidebar, right? So I'll just click here, just add a margin of 20 pixel. Do the same with this widget or this section, 20 pixels. Again, the same with this margin of 20 pixels. Again, adjust that based on each device by clicking on the responsive mode. There's a margin in between. And if you want to make each of these widgets individual, instead of giving the whole template widget a background, you can remove the background from the template widget, right? I'll go to advanced tab in the template widget, go to background, remove this. Okay, I'll update this. Now we don't have background for template widget, but within sidebar, just give a background to each of the sections. So I'll just click on this section, go to style tab. I'll just give a white background to each of the section. Again, do the same with this section. So that way the whole sidebar doesn't have a background, but each of the sections have a background, and I think that way it looks better. So I'm adding background to each of the sections in the sidebar template. Update it. Now if I reload this, it looks something like that. You can add padding to this section so that this looks better, but you can see where it's going. And it's basically the same technique that I used to design sidebar, right? So basically each of the widgets I gave each of the sections a different background or a brighter background. And the background of the content section is also white. And the background of the whole section is basically a darker color or a desaturated color, so that these things pop up more. So this is just, you can also tweak the transparency and do the same thing. You can use the same color but reduce the transparency, of the background of the section and have a better transparency for these widgets. And this is how you design a WordPress sidebar using nothing but just Elementor Pro.